Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. Maybe I should say welcome back to another celebrating a Steelers victory episode of the Scho Bro Show. I am Dave Schofield, the co-editor behind thesteelcurtain.com, and I'm here, as always, with my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you doing on this Victory Tuesday?
Just breathing in that sweet smell of victory.
Sorry about that. Hey, I always bring up the show on an old device and to make sure it's working all right on YouTube. And I still had the volume up from listening to Coach Tomlin speak today. And we'll get to talk about Coach Tomlin here soon. But you know what? It's funny because we both kind of talked about it, and you kind of had it a little bit in your knee-jerk reaction article and things like this. It was one of those wins. It was a win. You take the win. You always want the win. You should not be upset with the win, but it does seem like a lot of people, it just felt weird. It just felt strange because the Steelers won. They didn't cover, and I didn't expect them to cover because it's Denver, and it's always something about Denver.
And it was a 7.5 point cover.
Yeah, and
right?
It was a big spread. That's not easy to do. So I thought that was still a bit large for this early in the season, but at the same time, it was what it was. So there was just so many opportunities where the Steelers could have put that away. And I know people are like, oh, well, it was a backup quarterback. I don't know about you, and I want you to answer this right away.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes we saw it last year when the quarterback you don't prepare for can come in and actually play better than when that quarterback is prepared for. Like when Mason Rudolph came in for Ben Roethlisberger in week 2 last year. He looked much better that week than he did in the coming weeks. How well Duck looked against the Ravens. Then also how Duck looked when he came in and led them back to victory against the Bengals. Then how Rudolph looked when he came in against the Jets. It's like, oh, it's somebody else. It's almost like the defense wasn't ready. Do you think that's a thing? Do you think is that accurate? Or
I think the defenses can actually psych themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
There should be no difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Your game plan should be your game plan, and you should do this. However, I could see where a defense gets thrown off because a different quarterback might have a different timing. Like maybe a quarterback's drop is, it was Driscoll's drop a little quicker than Drew Lock, which allowed him to maybe get the ball out of half a step earlier. Timing can be thrown off by that.
Yeah.
But I really think that's probably hyped up a little more than it really should be. But I think defensive players sometimes then, if as soon as something doesn't go quite right, they start thinking, whoa, that should have been like that. We prepared for this. And next thing you know, I don't know. I think of the ever famous quicksand speech by Shane Falco.
Mm-hmm.
That something happens in the defense, then it just kind of snowballs. And next thing you know, you're letting a team that you think, oh, we got to their backup quarterback, should be easy, and it's not so easy.
Yeah.
Now, where I would say that it's different, being a guy that grew up playing a lot of baseball, when you were facing that star pitcher, you always wanted to knock him out of the game, get to the bullpen, get to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you hear
there's a little bit difference
much
between knocking a starting pitcher out of the game and knocking a starting quarterback out of
correct.
the game.
You have to
So
physically knock the quarterback out.
Just say that. That's not what you're trying to do in football. I just had to throw that out there. I know.
I'm talking about the mental piece. It's like, gee whiz, are you going to make me bring people up that nobody out here will have a clue about? But,
I'm just throwing that out there. Go ahead.
When you were 13 years old, there was a certain pitcher for a certain team that we beat in the championship, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And, the whole goal was always, oh, my gosh, if we could get past him and get to any of the other pitchers on the team, we'd be in great shape. I'm not so sure that you're always in as great a shape when you do that in football.
Yeah.
Somebody I think put it in the comments into my knee-jerk reaction article. Someone said, "Hey, that backup guy's job is to be ready and go in and do the job."
And honestly, they say a lot of times with a backup, and you kind of saw it last year with the Steelers, when you weren't the guy getting ready to go, how much easier. I mean, it's almost like you don't have time to think about it. You don't have time to overanalyze it. A perfect example. Look at what the Chargers did and how they almost knocked me out of the survivor pool because I'd picked the Kansas City Chiefs when Tyrod Taylor.
As did Kyle.
Yeah. Tyrod Taylor couldn't go because he had a chest injury that in pregame they said, nope, can't go. You're starting. No preparation, nothing else. The other team wasn't prepared for it. And man, oh man, he almost pulled that game off.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes to show that that's kind of how it could be at times. But when it came to the Steelers, there was times that they could have put, they kept dropping the dagger. They had the dagger to put the dagger in. They kept dropping the dagger. Couldn't put it in the touchdown zone at the end of the first half. Right there. It just so happened that on that 3rd and 1, the Broncos lined up and played and rushed the extra guy right where the Steelers were running. Just one of those things. I don't know if they should have audibled that or not.
I didn't mind the field goal at the end of the half nearly as much as the start of the third quarter.
Coming out of
because we turn around the 50-yard return, you're set up, just shy of midfield, and that is the drive that really disappointed me.
Yes.
And that was the drive where I said, oh, this is going to be a game till the end.
Yeah.
If we get that kickoff return that far and we get down and put a touchdown on the board, game over. Done.
Yeah. So, and I'm not going to go into the officiating. I'm not, because honestly, even as bad as the officiating was, or maybe I should say inconsistent, because you could say the PI calls that were getting called against the Steelers were not the same calls that were getting, they're very similar to what was being let go against the Broncos. And I said in the postgame show, and I'll always say it, the NFL doesn't like blowout games. They like things to be close. And sometimes you wonder if those who could help do. I'm just going to say that. But anyway, let's not even go there. But you're right. You got the great run back, ended up having the interception. Then the other one was you get the 2 points on the drop on the drop snap. You get the free kick, so you're going to get good field position, plus the good run back of someone said it looked like Antoine Randall. Well, he ran 60 yards to gain 20. Yep. I'm not complaining. That was still crazy. Nope. And then ran out of juice and said, juice ran out of juice and went out of bounds. And that was it. They were right there. You're like, put it away right there. It's the Mortal Kombat. Finish him. Come on. Just, you got to hit XY, up, down, go. I don't even know if that was the right code or not. I can't remember for whatever they were, but they didn't finish. Benny Snell comes out, coughs it up. It just seemed like in week 1, I kept thinking about, Steelers, there's a lot of these plays that good thing, it was a good thing. A lot of things went their way week 1, because there's some things, after that fumble, they made the big plays. Don't let them in the end zone to start week 1. Several different things along the way with that game that I'm like, oh, if that didn't go the Steelers' way, that could have been trouble. This one, you just look at all the different things that didn't go the Steelers' way, or else that game could have very easily been,
there's a lot of years
5-10. So
there's a lot of years where we lose that game.
Yeah, and that's kind of the topic of the show we're going to talk about here.
So the fact we didn't lose that game, to me, okay, we won. Would I have liked the score to have been 35-10?
Yeah.
Yes, I would have. Am I okay that the score was 26-21? Is that what it ended up? I don't even remember what it ended up.
26-21, yep.
Yeah, 26-21. Okay, a lot closer than I like. But you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
Because the only number that matters is 1.
Yeah.
A 1
One more
into the W column.
One more tally
week.
into the W, 2-0.
right.
That's a big one. That's all that matters. And like I said, you could talk about the officiating, you could talk about the plays that didn't happen, the other things. Yet it's funny how many times have we talked about games like that where and it didn't, and the Steelers didn't end up on the right end of it. All those things considered, and they still got the W. Now, they didn't cover, which might have been what people were ultimately going for those that try to make a profit on that. I don't know. But
you know what? I'm not a guy that lays down bets on games. So the whole do they cover, do they not cover? I don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't care either. And I picked the Steelers to win but not cover just because it was a big number. And I do have to say, because I did find out tonight that on Tally Site, which is the site that Behind the Steel Curtain uses where we make our expert picks this year, when we have an article that runs on Thursdays, just found out I came in third overall for the whole site. That's a lot of people. Basically almost all the SB Nation websites use it. The guy that came in fifth, I know, is a Sports Illustrated guy. Lots of people. I came in third, but I can't say too much because last week Jeffrey Benedict came in first. He was the number one expert for Tally Site. So Behind the Steel Curtain is representing. We're doing good. Doing well. And what's interesting is Jeffrey this week was saying, "Oh, I spent all this time researching and enter my picks, but didn't hit submit. Now I got to go do them again." I'm like, dude, I take 45 seconds and click it off and I'm done. I don't put a lot of thought into it because, I'm not laying any money on it. I'm just saying, I think that's all, because when I overthink it, I usually get it wrong. Speaking of overthinking, you also don't want to overthink your choice in the survivor pool. For those of you that are still alive, got to get those picks in. Got to get those picks in. If you're out there and you are still alive, make sure you are getting your picks in early. Do it right now. You have my permission. Step away from here, go enter your pick, come back. That's fine. Because the last thing you want to do is be one of those people this past week that got eliminated. The number one eliminator for this past week, people not making their picks. People not making their picks. Almost all. There was only.
Make sure as you move over to make your pick, just leave the sound on so you can hear us. You're not missing much by not looking at the.
Yeah, you don't have to look at us. It's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to this on the audio, pause the podcast. Go make your pick if you're still alive. There was under 200 people left, and only 7 people picked a game that did where they were eliminated. 20-some, 27, 29, something like that, didn't make a pick. So that was the biggest eliminator, was people not making their selection.
Let me just hold on just a second. Kyle, if you're listening to this live, go make your pick, bud. So, okay. He might be listening downstairs. I want him to make sure he gets his
there
pick.
you go. So go make your pick. I've still got to go make mine. It doesn't matter because it's not like I'm going to win the football anyway. It's already at my house. I'm the one giving it away, not the one winning it. Although I would take the bragging rights. That would be nice. Because, I picked the Chiefs. A lot of people went with San Fran. That was a good pick. That game was over on the first offensive play when they ran for an 80-yard touchdown. So that was pretty interesting. But if you're alive, make sure. And we only got, I think, 46% of the people remaining after 2 weeks. So over halfway gone. Don't get eliminated because you forgot to make your pick. The deadline is 1:00 on Sunday when they kick off. You can pick the Thursday night game, but you must kick it before kickoff, and then it is locked in. You can't pick the Thursday night game at halftime or something like that. So the article came out on the website. Go ahead. What's up?
I got a shame. I got Go on. Come up there. There he goes.
Ryan Kellerman says he forgot to even enter the league.
Yeah. I mean, people forget their pick. I mean, gee whiz.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So all in all, let's see. What did I say here? That it was 29 entries that did not make one. 36 people were eliminated. So we went from 198 down to 162. 162 entries left. So we'll see how it goes. So I'm still saving the Steelers. I haven't used them yet. I'm waiting for the right chance to do that. We'll see if it's this weekend against Houston. But let's real quick, I want to touch on something from Mike Tomlin's press conference today before we really dive a little bit more into this past game.
Okay.
And that is, he came out right away and said, David DeCastro is looking to come back to practice this week. We'll see if he's ready to then go this week. That's great. I waited the whole time for just one
I know what you're going at here.
Just one person who gets to ask Coach Tomlin the question, to ask, so Coach, how'd you feel about Kevin Dotson this past week? Getting the game ball and everything. And what are your plans with using him at all once DeCastro comes back? No question about Dotson. No question about DeCastro. No question about Chooks. No question about the offensive line, period. They'd rather ask him about, or wearing the mask on the sideline and other people getting fined about it, asking about, players switching up the name on the back of their helmets. Maybe that's what people really want to hear about. Me, I'm like, what is more important than asking about what's going to happen with your starting offensive line now that you're showing that you had 5 capable players this past week and then another more than capable player coming back? How are you going to work that? That's a great question to ask. Didn't get asked. We don't know. So we're just going to have to assume that just means DeCastro comes in, Dotson goes to the bench. And which is probably what's going to happen, but wouldn't it have been nice to hear that from Coach Tomlin?
It would have been very nice. It's see, you could get me off into a whole other topic of media and kind of what it's about nowadays. To put it just real quick terms, sometimes I see a lot of media folks lose sight of the forest because of the trees.
Yeah.
It's
yes, Chase Claypool doing a great job. Wonderful reception. Coach Tom gets asked about what they looked at when they scouted him to draft him. Yeah, okay. I still would have rather known what's going on with the offensive line and what they're going to do when they have, when they comes back. But DeCastro's got to make it back first. And that's probably all. I don't know what he would have answered. I know what he would have said. He would have said, we don't want to get the cart before the horse because, that would be painting with a broad brush if we're going to, to just assume that your all-pro guard is going to make it back. So until we find out that
we're going to go through practice this week and we're going to see how he progresses and he would have given you a pretty canned answer. But it doesn't mean you don't ask the question.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, so before we dive in to some of the stuff, we did get $5 into the tip jar from Anthony because he's getting frustrated because apparently he's asking a lot of questions in the live chat when we haven't got to that part of it yet. But we'll go ahead and do this one so I don't lose it for later. $5 into the tip jar saying his 2 thoughts. The refs made some bad calls, which made us to believe the defense was subpar. Yeah, I would say that. You're not going to get any argument from me. Did you think the officiating was pretty poor and inconsistent, Rich?
I have seen worse.
Yeah.
And I have seen better.
Yes.
I would agree with the inconsistency. I'm not sure that group was all on the same page in terms of what pass interference is. That would be my biggest argument.
Oh, no, and here's the other one.
And the phantom block in the back.
The block in the back call, I actually got a clip of this sent to me by Jeffrey Benedict because, he breaks down everything.
Yes.
I'll talk about some breakdown a little bit. I was going back and forth with him today as we were both looking at film, and the next thing you know, we're looking at the same play. The official that threw that flag was like the worst official to actually see what happened. He was on the sideline and like 25 yards away. He just saw Sutton's hands go up. There's no way he could see if he actually hit him or not from back there.
I know.
And the guys that were standing right there did not throw that flag, and he throws it.
I wish guys wouldn't throw their hands up in the air. If he doesn't throw his hands up, like, oh no, I didn't touch him.
Well, sometimes you
to yourself.
Don't throw them up, throw them back, because sometimes that's your reaction to make sure you don't fall into somebody to try to keep your balance. But don't put them up high, keep them down low. So that's one. But when we said we're not going to even talk about the officiating stuff, that was when we were talking about how the Steelers could have put the game away even more. To say, let's not focus on that part. Let's just look at what the Steelers could have done. Okay. Yes, the officiating is bad, but you know what? They won the game anyway, and they could have won the game even more, even without the bad officiating. So that's the thing. But the other question he wants to know is, when's the first loss going to be? You want to know what? I'm going to answer this like Mike Tomlin and a lot of the players.
Oh, I was going to answer it Mike Tomlin style.
I was going to say, I'm just taking it 1 week at a time.
Oh, I was going to go even further.
Oh, okay. You go ahead. I'm saying 1 week at a time. It's not going to be this week.
This is Mike Tomlin getting philosophical.
Okay.
Well, there will be a point sometime in the future where the Steelers lose a football game.
Yeah, there you go. There will be when I did my picks at the beginning of the year,
you heard it here first.
You heard it there first. I picked week 4 in Tennessee, but I haven't been overly impressed with Tennessee so far. I'll look at them a little bit more whenever that week comes. I'm not going to look at that too much. I have a feeling the Steelers' first loss is going to be one of those games where they probably could have won it, but just the things didn't go their way at the right time. And we're going to talk about that more. So, a couple numbers from the game. Let's dive into the numbers before we really get into the topic of the show. Anything that jumped out specifically at you from this past week?
Although some people really, I don't want to downplayed it in some ways. James Conner rushing for over 100 yards.
Yeah.
Yes, 59 of them came on one play. But if we really have watched a lot of James Conner in the past, that's what he'll do. He'll grind, pop off one for 30, 40 yards, and it brings the average way up.
Oh, my goodness. Did you see the blocking on that? I mean, Dotson had a great block.
Dotson turned it to inside, and I saw Watt coming around, and I said, oh, that's a first down.
How many people did he take out?
I mean, it was – that play was blocked extremely well.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. And, pretty happy with that. I took it a little bit further. A couple things about the 100-yard rushing. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team in the NFL in 2020 that have had a 100-yard rusher in both games. Nobody else has done that.
Okay.
And what's interesting about that is it wasn't the same player.
I know. It was two different guys.
So it's 2 different guys. But also, this was the first game since 2018, of course. And it was, let me see, what was it? Do I even say what week it was? I have to look. The last time that the Steelers had a 300-yard passer and a 100-yard rusher. And it was, of course, last time it was Ben Roethlisberger and James Conner. So that was against Cincinnati in 2018. So that was nice. What else jumps out at you? Both streaks continue.
Well, you saw that in a knee-jerk reaction. She's been to that thing, and the streak continues.
And the streak continues. So, hey, I know we talked about it a lot last week, so I wanted to mention it right now when I thought about it. Wes didn't see me in the live chat tonight. He had a technical difficulty with his device and being able to get in to do the grades, and that's why he wasn't the one who did the grades this week. That Jeff covered him for that one. So I was waiting for that question to come up at some point. Like, hey, we didn't see Wes's article. That was why. So, all right. Anything else?
How about I'll call it 2.5. Almost could have been 3.5.
Yeah.
Sacks by T.J. Watt.
I'll be honest with you. That was going to be another sack.
Yes, it was.
Locke was going down.
Locke was going down when Dupree then hit him and
Dupree
knocked the ball.
hit him, and I went back and watched it slow-mo, frame by frame today.
Yep.
Dupree did not hit the ball. He hit his arm as he was going down, which made him lose the ball. So that was interesting. Couple things, 10 penalties. That was rough, but we talked about the officiating and the penalties there, so we don't have to go into that one. Here's one. I was going to save this for my Stat Geek. I might still do it on Stat Geek, but I might dive into a little bit more Stat Geek. Some people give me a hard time. They're like, what's wrong with the Steelers starting slow? What do you mean what's wrong with the Steelers starting slow? Okay. Once again, 3 and out, first drive. But not only that, it's the lack of execution right off the bat. I mean, they've had a fumble. Both times they've recovered it, but they've had a fumble on both of their starting drives of each game.
Yeah.
And it's cost them. Now, the first game, it was Ben was trying to make a play and technically threw the pass backwards that then he had to scoop up. So that wasn't, they weren't going to get a first down there. But I mean, if not only that, Deontay Johnson was going to get some yards on that play if he doesn't fumble that very first play. So, and then the Steelers had 2 nice plays after that. So it's just like, I felt better about their opening drive in this week, but that one negative play can just kill it. It can just kill it. So what do you think?
Well, after that, as Kyle got credit for in the article, I have a new way of worrying about our first drive. Kyle called it the double R, double P. I don't want to see any more of those. And actually, I had a friend who read the article. He's like, he said Kyle was good there. He said, that's what he said.
I can't remember what it is. You got to spell it out for everybody.
I'm calling it double R, double P. Run, pass, punt.
Yeah, run, pass, punt. Yeah, run, pass, punt. That's how it starts off. But I was not upset about that jet sweep. It was just execution. I actually think that they were doing something different.
I actually thought it was a good call to open the game. It just didn't get executed correctly.
And that's the problem. Now I'm afraid because when they do something different and they didn't execute it, that the next time it's going to go back to let's be super vanilla on the first drive because when we weren't the last drive, they messed up. That's the thing that bothers me. I'm like, we're going to turn a corner and we'll see. So let's make sure we hit the topic of the show right now right before we go into the break.
Okay.
Because this is really important, and we're going to come back out of the break to kind of dive into this more before we move on to the Texans. And that is 1-score games. You've got to come out on the right end of those. I mean, think about it. The Steelers, how big was that safety? Because Denver's, they were down there ready to kick the field. I mean, if it was just a field goal, they could have tied that game up. Now, the Steelers would have had a lot of time to then come back and get a field goal of their own, and I think they could have done that. But we don't know how that would have played out. But once again, the Steelers has to come out. They have to make a big stop, and they did. And they did when it really came down to it to keep the Broncos out of the touchdown zone because a score right there means that they would have been trailing, right?
Correct.
So before we go into the history and everything of the 1-score games, which we'll do after the break, specifically the 1-scoredness of this game, what are your thoughts? The 1-scoredness, that's not even a word.
No, but I love how you make up words. That's strategery.
Yeah. Strategery.
Again, my whole thing comes down to I really wish it wasn't that close, but we were on the right side of the score, which in the end is all that matters.
Yes, and we're going to look at some other years in there where you're like, it didn't just matter. What's good about the Steelers, and this is what I really liked about this game, whether they were on the front side of the 1-score game with the defense on the field having to make the stop, or if they're on the trailing side of the 1-score game with the offense on the field having to come out there and get the points, I feel pretty good either way. And man, I haven't felt that way in a long time. Last year was like, just don't make the offense have to come back and score. That wasn't it last year. The year before was like, just the defense. If you're going to give up the points, just give them up quick to give the offense a chance to come back and have some time to do something.
Yep.
This year, I think it feels different, don't you?
Yeah, I'm not worried too much one way or the other.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're going to end part one of the show, and we're going to roll into how the one-score games really affect the Steelers in the future, roll into what's going on with the Texans. Make sure you are tuning in to Behind the Steel Curtain, tuning in. Make sure you're checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com for all your Steelers news. We've got everything there for you. But we will be back in just a moment. For those of you on YouTube, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a minute. For those of you on our audio platforms, make sure you go ahead and click on part 2. And we are back with the second part of the Scho Bro Show. I am Dave Schofield, co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with always my big brother Rich, who needs to keep my mind focused tonight. I'm kind of jumping here and there and everywhere.
You got the ADD rolling pretty hard right now.
Yeah, I've got it going. But, I forgot to do something the first half of this show. I've got to make sure we do. We've got to give a shout out.
Shout out.
We've got to give a shout out to our brother-in-law because today is his birthday.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you should.
Big bad Uncle Jamie turning, well, he's the same age as me, so it's not a big deal. So birthday to him. He is my brother-in-law that I share my season tickets with. And he was in the Survivor. I don't know if he's still alive in the Survivor pool or not. I'll have to double check. I know he's in League 2. So, but today's his birthday, so we got a shout out to Jamie. Make sure, probably not watching because it's his birthday, but just had to say that. So, Rich, Jeffrey Benedict says, "Happy birthday, non-Scho Bro."
Non-Scho Bro.
That's right. He's the non-Scho Bro, not non-Scho Bro. There, I got it. So, what we were talking about when we finished up the last show was the whole notion that the Steelers won the one-score game last week. Being in that closer game, being that game where the other team has an opportunity to win at the end, or you have to come through to win at the end. And the Steelers came out on the right side of that in week 2. Don't know, so many people are like, oh, they didn't cover. Oh, they should have won by so much. You got to come through in those one-score games. How important is that, Rich?
It's so important that after reading some comments on different stories on Behind the Steel Curtain website, I took during my lunch break today, I said, you know what, let me hop over here and look at something. I thought, I wonder how we were in one-score games the last time we won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, okay. That would be in the 2008 season.
That was the 2008 season. So I went back and I went through the scores in the 2008 season. We had 12 victories in the regular season that year.
Mm-hmm.
6 of them were by one score or less. Half.
Yep.
Half. Including an extremely ugly 11-10 win against Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
A 13-10 overtime win against the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of real low-scoring, real close games.
Yeah.
And we won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
And I remember at the same time with all those low scores, it was like, oh my, we should have blew them out. We've got to win better. Oh, we are so lucky that we're getting these wins. Well, you know what? That luck turned all the way into, a Super Bowl win.
Yeah. Well, and in 2008, only half their games were one-score games. The Steelers went 6-2 in one-score games that year. Okay, which that's a pretty good mark. You go 6-2 in your one-score games and 6-2 in your non-one-score games, and you're sitting at 12-4, which they were there.
That was their record, 12-4.
The thing is, do you want more one-score games or less one-score games? I don't think it matters. I think what you need is more one-score wins.
Yes, it's not. It's not so much the games. It's which side of the score are we on? If we're on the W side of the score, that's what I want to know. Okay, now I thought then, I wonder what the previous time the Steelers won the Super Bowl, what that was. So I went back and looked at the 2005 season. That was the year the Steelers beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl as the 6th seed. We were the 6th seed that year with a record of 11-5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We only had 2 wins that were less than a score there.
Yeah.
And we had multiple blowout wins.
Yeah.
And we also had several bad blowout losses.
Yeah. They only had 6 games that were 1-score games in that year.
And to me, did I feel any better about the year we were winning those games by blowout and won the Super Bowl as I did the year we had all those close games and we won the Super Bowl? No, I didn't feel any different.
Yeah.
Because in the end, all that mattered was we won games and we won the last game.
Yeah. Here's a little bit of a trivia question for you, and I bet you get this one right. We can't count 2020 because so far they're 1-0 in 1-score games. Going all the way back to the merger, what's the only season the Pittsburgh Steelers did not have a 1-score loss? There was only 1 year they didn't have a 1-score loss. They had 6 1-score wins and no 1-score losses. Ezra says his brain hurts.
If you're looking at me, yes, my brain hurts. Gee whiz. There's so many different things you could pick in there.
With no 1-score losses? You want a hint?
Yeah, it was the year that I gave. It was 2008.
No, 2008, they were 6-2. Your hint is the reason was they only lost 1 game the whole season.
Oh.
So that was in 2004.
Yeah.
Rookie year. The only loss they had was the Ravens, and they lost by more than a score there when he came in off the bench.
Good call.
So that's it. So the Steelers have 1-score losses. It's just they have them every season. Boy, it'd be nice if they didn't have any this year. That'd be pretty good. But it's a difference between 2019, where the Steelers had 11 1-score games and they went 6-5. Actually pretty good for that. When you think about what we were up against, that's not bad. Not terrible. The year before they missed the playoffs, 6-5-1 in 1-score games. Anytime is a tie. That's obviously a 1-score game against
obviously.
But the big one in there is 2017. When the Steelers went 13-3. The biggest reason they went 13-3 is they were 8-2 in 1-score games.
Yep.
They had 8 wins. That's the most wins they've ever had in a season in 1-score games. Was in 2017.
Wasn't that the infamous year that we
would have win because Jesse James caught that ball?
There you go. But wasn't that the infamous year of we'd be down and how many times did we come back and kick field goals?
Yeah.
With less than 20 seconds to play.
All those Boswell game-winning field goals in 2007.
Yeah.
So, but here's the question. Now let's look at last season across the NFL. What kind of teams ended up having the best record when it came to 1-score games? Okay. And some of them is just that they weren't in all that many. But the highest winning percentage, 2 teams had the highest winning percentage of 1-score games. And that was because they both went 6-1. And that was the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints. Both went 6-1. But what was that? Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. Okay. Now, who had the most? My goodness. The Seattle Seahawks had 9 1-score victories last season. 9. They went 9-2. But another team that was up there that had a lot of 1-score games and won a lot of them. Another team that also had 11 1-score games last season, and they went 8-3. And that was none other than the Houston Texans,
Yeah.
which is very important. That's why I liked this topic rolling in there. This was something that, Jeff Hartman's actually talked about in the past, is how good Houston was in one-score games last year.
Right.
So
they were ended up on the right side of the score in the close games.
And
that's what you have to make. That's what you have to make sure of. If the game ends up being close, it's not as big a deal if you're on the correct side.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what it comes down to. You got to be on the right side of those one-score games. But that makes a very interesting matchup with now the Houston Texans coming to town, and a team that's notoriously in the past, not this year. They're 0-2, but you have to admit they've had the hardest schedule of anyone to start the season.
Yeah.
They have to take on the reigning Super Bowl champs and then the team that was number one in the division last year. That's a tough start. I mean, when you look at the season and you're looking like, oh wow, can't wait till we get a break and get to play the Steelers at Heinz Field. I mean, not that that's even a break is what I'm saying is if you base it off of last year, other teams might say that, but I mean, come on, that's a brutal stretch for them to start the season. So JJ Watt is not happy coming in 0-2. The last thing you want to do is go 0-3. I mean, you're already down to where I talked about these numbers before. Teams that start 0-2, they have like an 11% chance of making the playoffs based on previous formats. Right. Now it's a little bit higher because you got another spot. So the one thing that the Steeler fans need to do is don't look down the road. You've got to stay focused on that opponent you have right in front of you. And I think the Texans really bring something different. This is the best quarterback that the Steelers will have faced so far this season, who is also that running threat as well. In all honesty, according to Jeffrey Benedict, who is in the live chat, so maybe he can back me up on this, this is not the best defense they're going to be going up against. Not very good against the run. Basically they have JJ Watts.
Yeah. And
really not a lot else. So some people are calling this a trap game. Here's what's crazy. I did the article that ran this morning, and the line might have moved a little bit, like half a point since. But the Steelers, when the article ran, they were 3.5 points. They were 3.5 point favorites at home against the Texans. The Steelers are 2-0. The Texans were 0-2. This game, when it first came out in May, Steelers were 5-point favorites. So even though the Texans have dropped 2 games and the Steelers have won 2 games, the odds makers think this is going to be a little bit closer. So what's your overall general thoughts about this matchup coming up this week?
I don't know. It's another one like the Broncos, man. Both these 2 games I kind of circled early on and was like, as much as I want to win both of them, if I at least get a split of these 2 games, I'll say, okay, we came out all right. If we were to lose this game by, say, 2 points, one of those little one-score games we fell on the wrong side, I would at least be happy we fell on the right side of the one the week before against Denver. Yeah. However, I will say the other thing that wouldn't surprise me, if you look at some of the stuff and some people are bringing up in the live chat that the Texans offensive line is okay, but not all that great. Other than J.J. Watt, the defense isn't, filled with a bunch of names. They're a solid team all around, but if we came out and played our best game, we could blow their doors off.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like Nathaniel Karate has the Steelers 59, Texans 0. This is one that could go. It could go like that. It could go that way. But honestly, the way the way the Texans of what they've gone through, when you're an 0-2 team, you got to think of it like it's the last game of the season. You can't hold anything back. You can't go to 0-3. You can do something crazy to try to get a spark. So And honestly, that's what I would do if I was Houston. That's really what I would do. I would come out and do something unexpected, because if it fails, you know what? You're 0-2. It's not like things were going peachy keen otherwise. So sometimes that's when these games are scary, because you could have that unexpected thing coming, and that's sometimes
they're playing for their. It's the third game of the season, and they are playing for their playoff lives already.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just what it is. So it does scare me. I mean, what are you more concerned? Maybe I'm going to ask you this: who is your bigger game wrecking concern? Are you more concerned about J.J. Watt on the defense or Deshaun Watson with the offense?
Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
However, I think we may be better equipped to handle him.
Mm-hmm.
But Deshaun Watson scares me. He's the one that could really put the points on the board. Okay. Could J.J. Watt have a few sacks, maybe because of fumble? Yes. But Watson's the guy that can really put points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, you can send help towards J.J. Watt in order to try to neutralize him and with various things. But I don't know what to expect with this game. I really don't know. I think this one's a little bit more difficult to call, because
I do like Jeffrey's point here.
Mm-hmm.
J.J. Watt, because Deshaun Watson isn't going to be hitting our franchise QB.
Yeah. What do you think is more likely to
Jeffrey, you might have a couple of offensive tackles out there that said, that's okay, J.J. Watt isn't either.
There you go. What do you
Too
think?
bad Zach Banner's hurt, because that's something Zach Banner would have said.
Zach Banner would say, yeah. No, and honestly, Watt's probably going to be lined up more on the guard, so it's probably going to be either DeCastro or Dotson. There's a good chance that he's going to be going up against. Yeah. So, my thing is, the reason I'm saying this is so difficult is basically because of a lot of the stuff that happened around the NFL this past week. I mean, my goodness, a lot of big name people went down, really went down. And honestly, I think something like that could affect a game so much more than anything else you expect going into it. But I mean, next man up, you got to do what you got to do. But I mean, you just say, as long as and you never know which way one of those things can go. You never know who's going to get knocked out. You never know who's going to come up with the injury and things like that. And I mean, yeah, I guess, like Coach Tom says, we're not going to live in our fears. We're just going to go out there and we're going to play. So to me, that's the biggest wild card with this game is the unexpected. So, but I still think if the Steelers go out and take care of business, this could and should be another victory for them. What about you? I mean, how about this? Let's open it up for questions. We'll take about, 5 or 7 minutes to do some questions. Then I'm going to cut them off and come back to you to specifically ask you your prediction, and then we'll read off some predictions from the live chat. So right now we'll look specifically at questions. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds like a plan.
So here, I have a question for you while we're waiting for some of them to come in. If you had a question earlier, I didn't see it before I typed that in there. I have an article coming out tomorrow. There are 3 members of the Steelers who are ranked number 1 at their position, according to Pro Football Focus. One of them I think is obvious. The other one is, oh, okay, yeah, I could maybe see that. And the other one is like, man, I had no idea. Any guesses?
Wow. One will be TJ Watt.
One will be TJ Watt. That's the obvious one.
That's the obvious one. One where you were like, what?
There was one that I was like, oh. I'm like, I thought he was playing well, but I didn't realize it was, I'm like, I'm glad someone else is paying attention. And then the other one was like, I just didn't think that it would be that much compared to some other stuff that I've seen. So,
I'm gonna bring one up, and I'm just gonna bring it up, and then I'll tell you why I bring it up as maybe somebody that sneaks in there. Wouldn't happen to be somebody that wears a number like that. Would it be?
No, you mean is it Marquise? No, he's way down. He's like 30 out of 33 centers.
Well, I just haven't heard his name a lot, and as an offensive lineman, that's what you look for at times.
Well this past week, I thought, but no, it's not on the. I'll tell you this: it's not on the offensive line.
Okay. So let's see. It's got to be Tyson Alualu.
It's Tyson Alualu. He is
that guy is actually
ranked interior defensive lineman, and Cam Hayward's third.
Yeah, that guy. I have been very impressed in the 2 games so far with the play of Tyson Alualu. That guy made me forget about the Gravedigger.
Yeah. So. Brian Kellerman had Alualu. I'm bringing up some of these. Yeah. I'll go back to some of the earlier questions. And that's one. And do you know what? Someone else got the one that's absolutely crazy. Are you ready? Chase Claypool is the number 1 ranked wide receiver. I thought with 4 touchdowns coming from Calvin Ridley, who's number 2. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is that he's caught every pass that's been thrown his way.
I was going to say he's caught every target.
I would say that targets would be a big thing, but Deontay Johnson is ranked ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster, and he's got the lowest catching percentage of targets of anyone on the Steelers, and has one less touchdown. So sometimes I just don't understand what PFF is looking for, but kudos to Chase Claypool for getting some recognition. Do I expect him to keep that ranking? No, I don't. I really don't, because that's going to be really tough. That shouldn't be what his concern. His concern is to just be to go out there and keep doing what you're doing, and that's a really good job. Let me dive into some of these other questions here real quick, because
let's get to them.
Now I'm trying.
And then you ignore them. Yeah, people should be bashing on you in here for that.
Someone asked, I think I went back too far. They said that is DeCastro coming back? Yes, DeCastro is supposed to practice tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. So I saw a good one here. Okay. Tristan Schwartz says, if Snell fumbles the ball again, do we give up on him being a big name running back for us?
No, but you're not going to see him probably carry the ball as much this week, because he's going to have to earn the trust of the coaching staff. Mike Tomlin's always been big on ball security. Yeah. I remember early in Connor's career, he had some issues putting the ball on the ground, and it cost him carries.
Yes, it did. I think it could cost him carries. I also think that he'll still get a few. You got to, you got to do what you can with the sample size you're given. And the only way I see him getting the majority of the carries again is if he gets thrust into it like week 1. Meaning for this week. It's going to take some time to build that back up. Black and Gold wants to know, can Claypool take the next step and become a big-time weapon? According to PFF, he already is.
Yeah.
But, bottom line, I don't know that it's as much as the next step as he's just got to keep rolling with it.
He's got to keep making the most of his opportunities.
Yes, because he's not getting a lot of
So far, he has made the most of every opportunity the Steelers have given him, both as a wide receiver and playing on special teams. He is making the most of it. He needs to keep doing that.
Yeah. Yep. There was a lot of people answering my question in there while I'm looking for another question. So let's bring up this one. I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I use it. From Leonardo wants to know, do you think that our secondary is going to play on this game like this game like they played last year? Do you think this is one that they come back with?
I don't know. I haven't gotten, Jeffrey's out there. I should be asking him, Jeffrey, we done a little breakdown on tape yet to see kind of what our secondary's kind of been doing these first 2 games.
I think he has a Mike Hilton tape out there, or film room that's going to be coming.
No, it's out there. He put the stuff out on Mike Hilton today, and I was watching that. And yes, Mike Hilton. That guy has played phenomenal so far.
Yeah.
But the coaches have put him in the position to do what he does best, blitzing and short coverage.
Yeah.
Again, there's been a few times where we've played a lot of zone, and I feel like that's where we've been giving up some of our as I like to say, the 3rd and 9 and we give up 13. It seems like have always come against us playing zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Hayden and Nelson maybe prefer to play a little more man at times. I don't know. It's something I'd have to look into a little more.
Well, and Mark wants to know, should we use Sean Davis in the passing defense? He has 0 defensive snaps. Some people are like, well, why did we bring him in if we were going to play him? I just think it's depth.
Yep.
He obviously didn't earn the starting spot for the football team, meaning the Washington football team. So, but at least
or the backup spot.
Yeah. Well, they didn't want to pay him for the backup spot or things like that. So I don't see Davis going in unless he has to. It's funny because at times Terrell Edmonds looks, oh yeah, he did all right. And times he looks like, oh, what's he doing? I struggle evaluating him. I really do. So it's just that's just one of those things. I'm going to do one more question here from Tyler before we go into your score prediction, because I saved mine for Thursday, and then we'll bring up other people's score predictions. And this is from Tyler. He wants to know, will Claypool completely replace James Washington in the wideout position before the end of the year?
No.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
No. It's not going to suddenly be he gets all the snaps James Washington gets. I think as Claypool continues to earn snaps, that snaps are going to be divvied out between, as I like to say, the 4 big receivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
If Claypool gets more, a few of them may come from Washington. A few of them could come from Deontay or Juju as well.
Yeah.
So
I think, notice they've only used 4 wide receivers. I don't think Ray's got an offensive snap yet. I could be wrong with that.
I don't care. Just let him back there and return kickoffs, because, man, it's nice to have a guy that can return kickoffs.
Yes. So, but my point is, you got 4 wide receivers. Even if you don't have all 4 of them on the field, you can run different packages with different guys. Seriously.
That's right.
There's times where I want to see Chase Claypool on the field and not Deontay Johnson or not Juju. Based on
there's times I want to see Claypool on the field with James Washington.
Yes, exactly.
And
yeah. Oh, could you imagine Claypool and James Washington, both of them out there that are great blockers with 2 tight ends? You know what I mean? And a running back. What you could do running, what you could do, then your options passing, things like that. I'll give you a Michael Beck, holy smokes. What could be done? I want to see them not say who's out there more what. Get them all involved. Get them all involved. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I would rather have all these guys rolling in there. Rich, I'm going to ask you the question now. Okay. Because Dusk says Claypool needs more playing time. He does, but a lot of people do. They need a balance with it. What's your prediction for the Steelers for the Steelers speak? You all go ahead and throw it in the live chat as well.
Steelers 2-1.
2-1.
Our 2 Watts outplay the 1 Watt of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Final score 29-16 Steelers.
29-16. Okay, 29. Not 26. They've done 26 2 weeks in a row.
I know.
They got to get over that 26. So they get over the 26 hump, but they don't get to the 30.
We get over the 26 hump, and we score a defensive touchdown or special teams. Defense or special teams scores a touchdown.
Okay. Non-offensive touchdown. Okay, so here we go. That's great for the old school 29 leagues when I used to do those. If you got a team that scored exactly 29 points, you won the pool. I want some money on that one time. Okay, Black and Gold has Steelers 26-23 in overtime. Okay, Corey, unless they say otherwise, I'm assuming this is Steelers 31-20. DJ2Y, all that stuff says the Steelers are going to break 30. Ryan Kellerman, 31-27. Okay, Mule has 30, Steelers 33, Texans 17. That's some good ones. Okay, Steelers 20-12.
Actually, you know what? I like that 20-12. That's actually not a bad pick there, Dust
one.
Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Cree's going 16-7.
Low scoring.
Yeah,
wow.
well,
Okay.
Steelers, they gave up the 21 points. They might not want to do that anymore. Russ has them 38-21. Tristan has 20-17 Steelers. Okay, we're even getting some people throwing out there. Does the sack streak continue, Rich?
The sack streak will continue.
Okay. Does the turnover streak continue?
Unfortunately, I think yes, the turnover streak continues.
Yeah, I think it's going to go one more, and then I think maybe they clean it up to go to Tennessee on the road. You know,
very possible.
There we go. I skipped a couple of them.
And by the way, we are going to at least get that one sack. We're going to catch Deshaun stepping up in the pocket, thinking to run, and somebody's going to be able to bring him down behind the line.
Even if it's only for a 1 yard loss.
Correct. Yeah. That's how we get at least one sack.
Steelers 10 sacks through 2 games. That's an 80 sack pace right there.
Yeah, I don't know that we shoot that pace.
But remember, it was only a 48 sack pace after the first week. So here we got another one. Finance Business says 17-10. I'll throw up just the last couple more. Some people are saying side, some people are saying yes to both. Jerry Cherry Band, got to bring that up because of the great music that he gives us on those morning shows, audio only, 24/20. Okay. And with that, we're going to end with that one because you got to give the shout out to the morning shows, which reminds me, make sure you're tuning in to the audio only shows for those of you watching on YouTube that are coming out. You got Let's Ride Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. You've got the live mic that was today. Thursday mornings, I got the Stat Geek show. And then Saturday, I haven't missed one yet. Touchdown Under from the two blokes in the Southern Hemisphere. Maybe I should say the opposite hemisphere because they're in the Southeast, we're in the Northwest. So he wants to start over. He's going 34-31. I gotta love that one. Okay. But of course, we're also here bringing the YouTube shows. We also have some other audio only shows. We get a Mike Tomlin press conference recap from Jeff Hartman on Tuesdays. You get injury report updates from Jeff on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you can't catch it otherwise, catch it out, quick, short podcast to know what's going on with the Steelers injury. And then Michael Beck gives you a rundown of Coach Tomlin's post-game press conference as a podcast. And then you've got the Hangover on Mondays, us on Tuesdays, Know Your Enemy on Wednesdays. That's a great one with Jeffrey and Michael. And they've been having somebody from the opposing team. I think they got a good one this week with someone from the Texans. I think they got someone from that does. I think they got a radio guy coming in.
Okay,
a pretty good person. Thursday night preview with myself, Brian Anthony Davis, and Jeff, and then you've got Tony on Saturday. Another audio only show I forgot about is the pregame show. Forgot about that with Brian and Kevin, also known as Cliff Harris is Still a Punk. I
listened to that this past weekend.
I've caught them. I only caught the first half of the first week, and then the game happened. I'm like, well, it's kind of not relevant now. But that's another good one. And then, of course, you got the post-game show after the game on Sunday. Rich, anything else you want to say to close us out tonight?
Again, as always, I'm going to throw that big shout out to our live chat. Really love it. Everybody's bringing good stuff. That's part of what I love about doing this show is just how active the live chat is. And
I've got to thank you for kind of reining me in a little bit because I was kind of here, there, and everywhere with a lot of different things. And you brought me back there pretty good. We've been doing that for years. Yeah. I've had to rein you. Someone did ask who was the Steeler fan first. I've got to give that to you because you've got the age on me. So
yeah, see, you don't remember the. Like you're saying, you don't remember the one for the thumb in 81.
I remember your shirt.
I had a shirt that said that. That's right, but you don't remember that.
I don't actually remember the season. No. I was too young. So, yep, it was all you. But thanks, Rich. This is a lot of fun. Thank you all in the live chat. We really enjoy this time together. And hey, 2-0, baby. Let's go 3-0.
That's right.
That's all you can ask for. Doesn't 20 points, 1 point, doesn't matter. That one notch in the win column.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. That's a great way to end. We will see you next Tuesday after Sunday's game. Can't wait. See you all next time.